Hello all, and welcome to join this webinar today on the responsibilities of the communication leaders in today's globalized, polarized, and a complex world. My name is Kia Haring, and I am a board member at Global Alliance for PR and Communication Management, and your moderator here today. This webinar today is a part of Global Alliance Responsible Communications Ethics First Month activities. And the Ethics First Month, it's right here now in February 2025. Our ambitions for this month are the following. So we want to raise the awareness of the importance of responsibility and high ethics in communications in all areas of business, government, non-profit, and education. We also want to bring together you as PR and communication professionals globally to focus, to reflect, and to discuss the ethical dilemmas we face in our everyday work. And this way, we enforce the responsible communication and high ethical governance in and communications cultures globally. To advance this ambition, we will organize a set of webinars free for all our member associations and individual members. You see the schedule here, and this is exactly what we're going to kick off today with the very first one. We're going to talk about the role of the Chief Communication Officer. How is it evolving and expanding? Covering today many more functions and tasks than those traditionally associated with communication. In this panel today, we plan to share insights from the latest studies on communication leaders around the world and discuss the themes: is acting ethically and according to the International Code of Conduct sufficient to meet the stakeholder expectations in today's world? Should communication leaders have a responsibility? And if yes, what kind of responsibility in helping our society strive for democracy, stability, and trust? And what role do communication leaders have in questions related to sustainability, the environment, and broader social issues? To open up the research behind these topics, we have here today our expert speakers, and let me invite the first one to the virtual stage. So we will begin with Elina Melgin. Elina is a PhD and a professor of practice of the University of Vaasa School of Marketing and Communication in Finland. But she has also served as managing director for the Finnish Communication Association, Procom, for 17 years, representing the communications industry both here in Finland but also internationally. The stage is yours, Elina. Welcome to kick off this webinar today.
Thank you, Kia. Now I'm trying to put this on present mode. Is it okay? You can see it well. Hello, everybody. My pleasure is to start this seminar with the topic of sustainability and ethics and the role of communications leaders of today. As we know already, everybody, the sustainability activity actually determines ethical and moral basis of the organization. Without those two, there is no possibility to act in the society. And what we mean by sustainability communication is that organization communicates or negotiates in society about its responsibilities and obligations. What it includes mapping of the requirements of stakeholders, management of the organization's responsibility practices, but the most important is to actively influence on the understanding responsible issues in society. It's doing more and showing an example, and this is challenging for communications professionals today. Because we are in the context of marketing and communications, we tend to say that the organization's most important asset is its reputation. And what we need to keep the reputation is trust, ethics, and sustainability. If we don't have that, or we don't have sustainable issues are not realized in the work what we do, then if there is crisis, then the media tends to be more critical. We communications people, at least in the Nordic countries, we are very good in following rules and regulations. If we work in the big companies, there are many kind of reporting standards to follow. Here are some. But if we work for public sector or NGO, we pick up the United Nations issues and build up our narrative for brand narrative around those cases. But it's much more that we have to do. It's very important to show the way for the others. Like, for example, an example of Patagonia founder who gave away the company saying that Earth is now our only shareholder. So we kind of should aim to be bigger than we are, to look beyond our duties and tasks. Few words about Finnish communications professionals. According to a Finnish communications survey, building and maintaining trust and promoting sustainable development and responsibility are such high level when we think about the main tasks, strategic tasks for communications professionals. And lately we made with Professor Chiara Valentini interviews of communications leaders in Finland and talked about the sustainability and responsibility issues. And I have some fresh findings here. Of course, everything starts and ends with trust, and Chiara will be talking about that. But what we heard is the sustainability thinking is quite dominant in communications business in Finland. It means that we have quite strict rules what regards, for example, gifts or traveling, all the corporate governance issues. Sustainability requirements are all in subcontracting chains. And we have to be very, very careful with journalists, no perks, because it's not possible in today's world in Nordic countries. And if people are working in a multicultural context, we saw and heard that there are some challenges because the habits differ so much in different countries. Here are some quotes in the end, what Finnish and Nordic people, Nordic communications leaders say about sustainability of today in their work. They think that it's kind of a luxury to do sustainability issues in their work because we have a welfare state, so we can and should be actually doing more in the area of sustainability. So we are pretty advanced and fully aware of the importance of sustainability issues. Of course, in the countries where is, for example, lack of energy or clear or water, then the issues are different. But it's not enough. In the Nordic countries, we are very good in following rules and regulations, and we are good in many areas. But we tend to look too much on environmental side of sustainability. We should take more care of social and economic issues as well. And also, we should teach our leaders to understand and utilize more sustainability communications in business. Communicating sustainability is possible only if the activity itself is responsible. So I would like to end with this idea that I actually already had when I was heading Procom, that communication professionals of today are the guardians of sustainability, ethics and trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Elina. Thank you for the wise words, and a reminder to everybody following this webinar that you can ask questions from the speakers by using the Zoom chat function, and we will save time at the end of the session for your questions. And also we will record this webinar, so if you need to go back to it, it's fully possible. It will be published on Global Alliance website. So good for you to know. But the chat function is there for your questions. We take them at the end, and I will invite our next speaker, who is Chiara Valentini, PhD, a professor and head of corporate communication discipline at Jyväskylä University School of Business and Economics here in Finland, but also an adjunct professorship in strategic communication in Milan, Italy. And Chiara is also known for many publications in strategic public relations, public and government communication and crisis communication in the digital environment. So today she's going to share a view about trust. Go ahead, Chiara, stage is yours.
Thank you, Kia, for the nice presentation. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let me now get into the sharing mode, my slides. If you can see, let's see if I can put them better. Now, I think it's too small, these. Just a second. Let's see now. If I can make this, always technology is something we need. Okay, hopefully now you can see it well. Actually, my presentation is somehow a follow-up what Elena also mentioned. I would like to share some thoughts and some reflection on the concept of trust, which I believe it's even more important today in our society, given the complex situations, geopolitical tensions, and all the sort of things we are seeing it. And also, it's in a certain way, we can think about trust as a catalyst value that drive professionals, in particular leader ethical directions. So I will also share some insight from the joint project. So the one we have worked for the past 6 months, collecting qualitative data on the Finnish leaders across the industry. So we have data from the private sector, including consultancy agency, public sector, and no-profit sectors. But let me first go to the main question of why it's important from our point of view to rethink about trust or reconsider trust in this very turbulent time we are living there. If we start thinking about what are the roles and objectives of leaders and communication professionals, of course, there are many things they need to achieve, but one of the key aspects is essentially the drivers of building mutual and maintaining mutual positive relationship with the stakeholder and publics. And if we think about the building, maintaining relationship requires giving trust and gain trust, and the trust is a lubricant of social relation, or in other terms, also an antecedent of mutual beneficial relationship, you can kind of sort out why we are claiming that trust is important for achieving the strategic objectives of leaders and the communication professionals. Now, before presenting the results, because we ask leaders to think and reflect about trust, I want to share with you a couple of slides on conceptual understanding what we mean about trust, because obviously there are many definitions, many understanding, and might bring, you know, different layers of views of what might be trust. We like this definition by Meyer and colleagues that basically underline trust as an important concept in relationships. So there must be two actors involved. One is the one who is giving trust, the trustee, and one who is the one who is receiving the trust or is given trust, the trustor. The interesting part of when we think about trust is that there is always some risk, because we don't know if the person we are giving confidence, trust, is actually highly committed to do what this person promised to do. And that means also that we need to rely on previous expectation that side. When we think about trust, we also think about, if we take a similar concept, reputation, the trust also is something that gradually builds on. So it takes time to build a trusting relationship. Often we gain trust from direct contact, direct experiences, but we can also gain trust indirectly through so-called trust spillover effect. That is the typical example when someone in our network basically endorses us or tells one other party that we are trusting entity, we are trusting organization, we are trusting leaders. So we gain the trust through this indirect connection. Of course, elements like possessing expertise, knowledge, having accurate information are key elements that help building trust in the relationship. Now, trust is given, but can be placed. And when we think about where can be placed trust, we can think about, of course, the most common one is the interpersonal level, so trust between people. That's the micro trust. Trust at organizational level, so we trust particular institution for their credibility, their reputation, their quality of their services. That's the meso trust. Or we trust broadly society, the structure in society, the rules or laws, the code of conduct, the industry bodies. These different levels of trust are quite important because sometimes we tend to, let's say, reduce trust only to the interpersonal level, and we don't take the advantage in organization of other level of trust for creating strong relationship connection with our stakeholders. Now, based with this typology of three level of trust, I would like to go through the data that we have. And because we have actually asked these communication professionals, these leaders in Finland, how do they understand trust? And their views, their perspective, I think it's very interesting, and touch upon this micro, meso, and macro level of trust. So let's look at some of these data. First, on the interpersonal level, so the micro level trust, we do have three sub-dimensions. Some of the leaders focus more on the cognitive level trust, meaning focusing on the type of trustworthiness that is based on rational thinking, on cost evaluation, what do you get out of building or trusting someone. And the quotes that are here on the slides underline some of these elements. How is it fundamental for professional relationship, that you trust other people, that you cannot do as a leader your job if you don't trust others, how trust is a two-way venue, so the mutual reciprocal relationship, and also how trust is also conducting a relationship with others where you outlive your promises, and is also a form of acting in a responsible manner, so connecting between what Elina mentioned before. On the affective level, some of our leaders mentioned the importance of building the trust us in building well-being organization. We should not undermine this important emotional component that when you trust your employee, when you trust your subordinate, you create a positive environment where people feel more comfortable and in the best position to act, to use their ability to perform and meet the goals. So this is a very also interesting, I think, understanding of trust. Then we have this positional trust, and this is the trust related to, for instance, more characteristic values like honesty, integrity, goodwill. And here again, a few quotes that underline the importance of building solidarity. We heard many times talking about playing the same team, the team games and sport teams as something important to describe how they feel about, but also the importance of trust as a sort of self-resilience, how it helps trust to build all resilience on self. Leaders need to trust themselves, their skills, their knowledge, in order to be able also to give trust out. That's what they told us. And that means also acknowledging sometimes own weaknesses when the things don't turn out to be as they were planned to be. On the meso level, so on organizational level, we have seen also leaders expressing a certain understanding of trust. And here we have two dimensions, the categorization-based trust and role-based trust. So the categorization-based trust rely more on a general philosophical understanding base that we are all in the same boat. We are professional, we are in the communication field, and trust in our profession is fundamental, it's everything. We need to be reliable, we need to give credible data, and that is how we understand trust. In the role-based trust, trust is conceived as something connected with their own functions. So we trust each other in organization because we trust the roles and the tasks we're achieving. So if everybody fulfills their role and the common goals, then we can gain this trust. Next, the macro level trust, which is the societal trust. Of course, this is also a very interesting element, I must say, for our international audience. The Nordic region tend to be scored all the time very high in societal trust. So that means that there is a general positive views of the contribution of organization across different industry in handling global societal challenges. The two quotes here, I think they are very interesting because shows a little bit that these leaders feel really obliged towards acting correctly, acting responsible towards society at large and citizens. They see that they are watched over what they are doing, how they're doing, and that's why they think it's very important to protect trust. Some even said that, particularly in difficult times, and they mentioned, of course, the past COVID pandemic, but also some of the wars and the conflict we're seeing, have made a society even more critical and at point also aggressive. And so the importance of giving trust and building trust is even more central. To move on what can we take away on these findings, I think there are a few things I would like to share with you today. Leaders are very much in good position to help the organization building resilience, but also contribute to societal resilience, to trust building effort. And of course, this takes a lot of time. So it's a long-term plan to develop, but using, for instance, authentic and transparent communication can help this. And that means also acknowledging mistakes or weaknesses. Leaders or those working in communication should actually take advantage of the different level and dimension of trust to maximize the effort. So sometimes it might be good to think about the effective trust. So meaning how can we use this emotional component to build trust? Other times we need to rely on our organizational credibility, so the meso-level trust. Other times we need to rely on our role, function to enhance trust giving, trust building. Another key takeaway that I would like to share is the idea of engaging stakeholders, because some stakeholders are very good in helping organizational leaders to elicit more trust, particularly in certain groups in society. This could lead to the so-called trust spillover effect I mentioned at the beginning. And obviously, if you show that you trust them, they might trust back and you can gain trust. And finally, to increase this positional trust, it's a key important element for leaders. So to conclude, I want to show you this Ernest Hemingway quote, because I think it's quite illustrative of what we have seen from the leaders we have interviewed. The best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to trust them. So communication leaders have told that it's very important to showing trust in order to gain trust. And positive behaviors can lead by values can help doing so. And well, yeah, actions speak louder than words. So showing trust is better than communicating about trust. With this, I will stop, and I'm happy to take on questions after everybody has presented.
Thank you, Chiara. That was very interesting, and there is already a few questions for you. So please, the others as well, and apologies for my bad terminology. So there's a Q&A functionality that you should use for your questions, but we'll take them at the end. And now we move forward in our program, and we welcome our next speaker. So welcome Huan Meng, PhD, and Huang is a professor and head of Department of Advertising and Public Relations at the University of Georgia. And her research focuses on public relations leadership, diversity, and global communication. And today she will be talking about data-driven communication and the impact of generative AI technology on ethical communication practice. So go ahead, please. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Kia. Let me share my screen first. I want to make sure I share the correct one. Okay, are you able to see the full screen?
It's the same issue as when we tried. What did you do then? If you try again.
Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. All right. Is this now full screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, probably, since the majority of you are in Europe. My name's Juan. Like Kia introduced, I'm presenting from the States on behalf of University of Georgia. So I'm delighted to share some results based on our most recent editions of the North American Communication Monitor with you guys on the topics related to ethical communication, and also especially the most recent edition focusing on the generative AI technology and the communication practice. So let's begin. So I want kind of quickly share this kind of a summarization about the data-driven communication and also its benefits, as well as ethical challenges that brings to our attention from the communication and leadership perspective. So data-driven communication is everywhere for everything we do, from practice, from research, and even for educational instruction when we teach students. And we cover a lot about the critical thinking related to data-driven communication and what does it bring to the new technology and to our communication strategies. So apparently, yes, technology brings lots of benefits. It helps us to diversify our communication strategies and help the clients, help the brand to be able to gain data, especially from multiple social platform, website, mobile apps, and everything that you use on your smartphone, on your watch, on everything. Okay. And also from the communication researcher perspective, it allows us to retrieve and analyze massive consumer data that will give us the capacity to do more segmentations and more insights analytics related to consumers and stakeholders. Further help us to broaden the reach of the communication strategies and messages through different channels and through different platforms to increase engagement and serving audience more directly. And of course, besides all those benefits, we have to face all those potential ethical challenges, those data-driven communication and the new technology bring to our life. The number one issue that we have heard over and over since we started this research project, or maybe even before that, is about the privacy of user information and the concerns related to communication transparency. Just like Kiara mentioned, the trust issue. Okay, how do we trust the platform again? Can we trust? And can we trust the communication strategies or the different channels we distribute messages? And also those, when you do more segmentation of the both internal and external audience, how do you keep the profiling and also targeting in an unbiased way that maximize your audience reach, but also stay in the ethical zone? And then all these come together to create multiple sets of ethical challenges from the segmentation, bias, myth, and disinformation that all come together as part of the technology that drive us to think about what's next. So in last edition of the North American Communication Monitor, which of course is part of the Global Monitor series that we investigate specific on the ethical challenge side, when about comm technology. And on this slide, you will see that actually 6 out of 10 communication professionals in North America, which means professional living and working in the United States and Canada, they actually encounter one or more ethical challenges in the past year. This was the edition of 2021. Okay, if we do the same questionnaire today again, I'm assuming the percentage will be much higher. Okay. And we have 33.3% experienced several ethical challenges in the past year, and 38.2% experienced at least one ethical challenges. And we still have a small portion, I guess, very lucky, they had experienced no ethical challenges. And when we asked, okay, so you experienced ethical challenges, what are those? Topics or areas actually bring those challenges to you and to your practice? And almost 7 out of 10 professionals are worried about using bots to generate feedback, the automation part on social media. and also paying social media influencer at a much higher rate in terms of speaking in favor of your brand and the brand and or the corporate brands. And also they are worried about that applying big data analysis by using that data collected from the website to do all data mining on the audience personal side. And then related to this, since you all experience different ethical problems, ethical challenges, do you ever receive ethical training? So this becomes a very natural question to think about and also to ask when you conduct research. And it looks quite promising that at least the majority of communication professionals in the North America, they have participated in different types of ethical trainings or classes. Either do ethical training provided by a professional association, such as the Public Relations Society of America, or the IABC, okay, providing ethical training. Or their organization actually provide its own training on communication ethics to its own professionals. Or there's certain percentage also reported they did take communication ethics classes during their studies, either at college or at the post-graduation training. However, when we look at this slide, since they shared, yes, they did participate in communication ethics training, we asked how often, when was the last time you participated in the training? Then the numbers look, well, maybe it's quite dated, the communication ethics training. We have 30% took the training less than a year ago. And another third took the training 1 to 3 years ago. And the 20% took the ethics training 3 years ago. And there's still 16% don't know or don't remember. So think about how fast the communication technology has evolved in the past 3 years, or maybe even 12 months. Speaking of generative AI, which I will talk about next, the ethical training also will need to be advanced and to follow up the technology evolvement. So when you had training 3 years ago versus what you have to deal with today, by facing all this new tech, new platform, the generative AI, it brings more challenge in terms of what is the right way, right action to respond to those different challenges and the questions or concerns. So when deal with the ethical challenges, communication professionals actually, they have to sort of like navigate to different sources, different resources of ethical code to help them to cope, to help them to find the right answer, to do the right action. The majority of them, I would say at the master level, they followed the ethical guideline of their organization. Then the next level would be the professional association, the macro level ethical code, to see the big environment, the big picture in terms of ethical guidelines and ethical codes. Then also the personal value and beliefs play a significant role in terms of finding the right ethical guideline to manage the right ethical challenges. So this kind of link to the next second information I would like to share with all of you, which is about the ethical communication and the generative AI technology, which is the most recent, from the most recent edition of the North American Communication Monitor, that we particularly focused on how the comm professionals in North America has managed using generative AI and comm tech, but also increase their communication practice to be more efficient and effective. So to just give you a quick overview of the definition of generative AI, we're using this study just because AI, artificial intelligence, is such a big and a broad concept. It comes in different areas, different discipline, different ways. The way we choose to define Gen AI focus on the communication tool part. Okay, so we define Gen AI is a type of artificial intelligence that use the machine learning mode to generate content that is similar to what a human would produce in response to sophisticated and varied prompts, such as language, instructions, and questions. So we can generate new content in the form of image, text, audio, and some widely discussed and applied examples of Gen AI tools, of course, ChatGPT or the Copilot from Microsoft. Probably most of you have used it in different ways, Midjourney and Jasper. And of course, every day there are new Gen AI tools being launched in the market or get merged with different bigger brand and evolve to next level. So this is the Gen AI we asked in this edition of North American Communication Monitor when we did the survey. And it's not surprising that the communication professionals' attention and the discussion on Gen AI tool are very high. Majority have followed the conversation about Gen AI closely in their daily practice. And then also they agreed that Gen AI is heavily discussed in their country, especially in their communication profession, the area they work with, no matter to the client, for the client, or to the audience. And also the impact, I would say the attention predicted the impact. So the change associated with generative AI is inevitable across all levels. So we evaluated 3 levels, the macro, at the professional level. And yes, communication professionals agree that Gen AI enormous change their communication practice. And they also agree that Gen AI changed their communication department's operation. And also at the micro level, Gen AI changed the way as professional in him or herself, the way they work. What's special on this slide is I want to show you that the blue arrow indicating the gap. Okay, see the attention level is very high, and also the predicted impact level is high. And the communication professionals, they do feel their knowledge about Gen AI tools are good or excellent, which is 64.1%. However, the usage is not as, I would say, prevalent as their perceived knowledge. So only 47.9% use Gen AI tool frequently in their line of work. So there's a gap between the knowledge, perceived knowledge about the Gen AI versus the actual application of the Gen AI tool in their actual work. That's the part that we hope to do more follow-up research to find out why and how. And of course, when speaking of the impact, we do want to see how the Gen AI tool have impacted the work. And from the different color bars on this slide, seems like the concerns overweigh benefits. The green bars indicate the benefits that communication professionals in North America see the Gen AI tool. They do agree that Gen AI tool provide more flexibility and automation to manage a task and work, which allow them to or free their time to focus on more sophisticated tasks like strategies, okay, or the specific strategic plans. And also, they can use the free time that gained from Gen AI tool to focus on innovation. So these are kind of 2 green bars indicate the benefits the communication professionals see the Gen AI tools. However, those 4 red bars are the top concerns, speaking of the impact of the Gen AI tools. Again, all those concerns centered around ethical communication, ethical conduct, data privacy, ethical conduct, the ownership, lack of ownership, and the content control, lose the content control, and the credibility of the content created by Gen AI. Then next level related to their job insecurity, the anxiety. Are they losing the human intervention? And also the excessive usage of technology, will that bring actually a much more higher level of stress and information overload that may be driven into the mis and the communication and information. So the infrastructure issues are actually the most notable organizational barriers to introduce Gen AI tools on top of all the ethical concerns. They are worried about that high data requirement and the high bandwidth, a cloud requirement to store all the data and information, and also the accuracy level. All those support from the IT department and training, again, brought by the communication professional. With the high cost of implementation, how do we keep up the training? Not just about the generative AI usage, but also the ethical training to cope with those Gen AI issues. At the individual level, very, very similar. Communication professionals, again, worried about the AI-human balance and related to the ethical concern. Are they able to balance the human emotion, the nuances, which cannot be generated by Gen AI tools? And again, the data privacy as a concern, this term came over and again in our research to show that communication professionals, yes, they do use Gen AI tool, but they do concern about that the data privacy and the human interaction in the creative process that is missing by just purely relying on the Gen AI tools. So to wrap up my talk, here are some key takeaways from the most recent edition of the North American Communication Monitor. So it's more sort of like the trend that we can't avoid by using technology, especially those advanced Gen AI tools in communication practice. But the question became how do we use them effectively? Okay. And use Gen AI tool to drive performance, to drive business performance, not to drive creativity should be the central one that for us to consider. We use Gen AI tool to improve communication efficiency, the process, and the workflow, but we cannot use Gen AI tool to address those ethical concerns, data privacy, control of the content, the ownership. So we still need to go back to the creativity part of the communication practice to focus more on the human involvement, the interaction, and the implementation of those strategies as a strong foundation to allow us to use Gen AI actually to be more efficient, not to replace the human interaction. And again, everything we discussed today, building around the ethical concerns, using Gen AI tool is critical, but all those ethical concerns are something that communication professionals that we are worried and we concerned and we want to find the right way to cope with. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have some question discussion at the end. And now I'm giving my screen back to Kia, to our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we need to move on, but please use Q&A. There's good questions upcoming already. But as our last speaker for today, we move on to Latin America and Marco Herrera. Welcome to the stage. Marco is a consultant in strategic communication, change management, and digital transformation. He's a researcher for the Latin American Communications Monitor and vice president of reputational risk at the Mexican Association of Integrity and Compliance. The stage is yours, Marco.
Thank you, and hello to everyone. I'm going to talk about this subject, and and today I want to, if you notice, I cancel the word new, and I'm going to tell you why. And in that order to start the presentation, I want to challenge everyone today. So think in a challenge, please. Today, the world is in the big situation. The global risk report that the World Economic Forum launched this 25. As you can see, there's a lot of issues about trust, about misinformation, about cybersecurity, and we are talking talk about AI, and every day it's news about AI. Today in the morning, there's the new ethics codes and the new policies to rule AI, so it's very important. But the world is a little crazy right now. As you can see, the concerns that are in the world are really big. In the meeting of the CEOs, CCOs of World Economic Forum, all the trends are about digital technology, about disinformation, about trust. And in my region, in the Latin American region, also we have our problems. Right now we have elections in 5 countries, about all these new policies that US is starting in all the region, in all the world, disinformation, restrictive regulations, digital transformation, and the adopting of the AI. It's a big issue, and all these involve trust. So what I found that in anonymous way, somebody said the world is worse than ever. It's chaotic, polarized, misinformation, but also, and communicators said this is happen all the time. There's no new. So that's why I'm challenging you that about that new responsibilities of the CEOs, CCOs is not all the time is the same. We need to be prepared, and we need to face all these challenge about what happened in the world. In the region, I bring some data from our last studies, the 22-23 and the 2020-21, about what is the most important things, issues that the communicators have on their minds. And you can see, first, strengthening the communication to the top executive decision-making, connecting the organizational strategies with communication, using big data in 22-23, using the big data, and obviously right now it's AI. Main ethical challenge, and if you look in what once present, I saw numbers from the ethical challenge in the 3 regions: North America, Latin America, and in Europe. We are in the same ranks. The ethical challenge, it's about personal values in the micro level, the values of the company, and some values of the organizations and PR organizations give to the communicators. And the other important thing is the essential skills. And I think that's a main issue, because it's not to learn about communications. The communications the communications professionals need to, and they are looking to be better in management, in business, and in technology and data management. That is the important issues that they have in mind, the communicators in our region, in all Latin America. And here I bring to the table to some like an equation that the CCO has to fight with global risk, with the regional risk, and with the national risk. And with this, fight with the communications challenge that they are thinking in the day by day. But there's enablers that we have as a communicators professional to seek our objectives. First, we need to have a constant professional growth. The ethical codes, it's a big enabler. And right now, with the challenge of the AI in the generation of content, that makes to the people create more false and very easy content, that is a risk. The technology is a big enabler if we use it in a very good way, and to be an empathic leader. So because we need to achieve the social business objective. First, support the democracy with all the facts that the democracy have, sustainability and all these big issues. Obviously, the communications has to help the business objective, meet the compliance. Right now, it's a big issue. The communication has to work together with compliance to achieve all the regulations and to build the reputation and the trust. Obviously, satisfy the consumer and give value to the stakeholders. So this is where the CCO is moving in have to check all these things about the risk levels to meet the objectives of the company. That's a big responsibility that the CCOs have. But here, if we saw through the excellent communications model that Dr. Cefras and Angeles Moreno create, and this is the numbers that we have. The 80%, almost the 80% of the communications department are not excellent. So in my experience and what I saw in the last years with all kind of communicators working in different companies, and this is the challenge. I put the CCOs, the regular CCOs, just saw communication. And in a lot of times, talking with leaders of communication of different companies, I listened the answer of, I just saw, and I'm just the owner and the manager of communications. I don't see any kind of extra situations. And that's why the 77% are in this number of they are not excellence. And for me, they saw just communication, just the media management to be influencers and media crisis. And if you saw the number, this is the number in Latin America. The 77% of the departments of communications are not excellent, just the 23%. And in my experience, what I saw is the CCO-plus, and it's not new, always has to be happen. If you want to be a communicator with extended vision, you need to learn about strategic communication in the wider point of view. Obviously, technology, public affairs, reputation management, crisis management, compliance. Right now, compliance, when the compliance do not exist, the communicators think that we are the owners and we have the responsibility of reputation. Right now, we are working with the compliance because the compliance manage the risk management and the risk of the company, and that generates if the company have good or not good reputations. We need to work on that. And I made a little research a few years ago asking to the compliance managers of different companies, and they was not in the communications crisis group. So that's very interesting, and we need to work with them. Learn about the business, be data-driven, make studies about damage control, and obviously, again, compliance. So if the communicators, communications professionals want to be excellent in communications, I think we need to work and learn this and apply to our daily basis work. So my challenge for today is the communicators has to dare broaden our vision. Thank you to all.
Thank you, Marco. And now I welcome all our speakers back to the stage because we open up the questions from our audience. First one here goes to Chiara. Steve is asking, do the panel view trust and reputation as synonyms, or if not, why do you prioritize trust over reputation? How would you answer that?
Right, okay, this is an interesting question. So in some international settings, let's say a report we see from international agency, these two terms are used as interchangeably. We know this famous annual report on trust and so on. But in my view, they are actually not the same. So you might be very trusting entity, but not necessarily be ranked top of reputation, and vice versa. They are interconnected in that, of course, normally trust is a building block of reputation, is one of the dimensions, one of the things, but they are not the same. Why I would say emphasize trust and reputation. Reputation is a bit selfish concept in my view. Organizations strive to reputation because drives their business goals, but normally is self-driven. Whereas trust is more, let's say, outward or societal driven, in that, of course, it can bring you positive reputation, but it does do something positive for the entity. So that's my takeaway on this. I don't know if anyone else wants to add something.
Maybe you can continue, Chiara. There's a follow-up to that. How do you measure trust?
Yeah, so again, depends how you understand trust. So there are different measurements. And of course, trust is more of psychological kind of status of mind. And it's a bit different than when we measure, whether a person is trustworthy. That's a little bit different. And also depends on what are we measuring. If we measure brand trust or organization trust, is a little bit different than measuring whether the stakeholder trust a leader or a communicator in their interactions. So it's not really a simple question to answer. How do you measure? There are different metrics, depends what levels and you are measuring trust, and what do you want to measure the trust? Is it on the brand or organization or the leader, or on societal? For example, societal trust is measured very different than organizational trust.
All right, thank you. And there's questions from Suzanne. Great to have you on board. This one goes to Joanne. Thank you for the presentation. We have discussed a similar set of questions for the ECM before. As a researcher in ethics, I always wonder about those who say they never encounter ethical challenges. Simultaneously, some say they don't have any training. Could you reflect on whether this means that the challenges are not present, or that those without training simply don't see them?
Excellent question. Yeah. When we review the data, when finish data collection and start doing the data analysis, when you see there's still a percentage, and not small, probably close to 20%, saying either they never experienced ethical challenge, you will think, how possible, right? Or when they say they don't remember they ever received ethical training, again, the question, how that possible? I guess it depends on the context. And when we run the survey, design the survey, the questionnaire sort of like embedded in the technology setting. So when you are dealing with the communication new technology, for example, the generative AI in the most recent edition of NICM, so probably that naturally link their mindset to the technology side. So my possible answer would be probably they are that group of communication professional. They don't need to deal with the CommTech on a daily basis. So their ethical concern or ethical challenge comes not from the technology side, maybe from other practice, from the stakeholder communication or from other area brand communication, but not specifically on technology. So that might be my only possible explanation about that percentage of no, I have not experienced the ethical challenges in the past, or I I don't remember if I have ethical training in communication technology. So, but yeah, if we do a general research about ethical challenges, ethical concerns that they have dealt with in all possible areas of their practice, probably that number will fluctuate and will change again. So again, this will be situation specific.
Thank you. Maybe we have time for one more question and to be equal. So that goes to Marco. So what we see is that there's obviously need for, whether it's a new role for CCOs, but an advanced role, or what do you say? What are the means for communication leaders to level up to and live up to meet the new demands? What can we do, or is there anything to support us in that?
Thank you, Kia. I think in the way that the communicators professional is dealing with the world, let me put it in that position, leading with the world, we need to learn different subjects. In my experience, in some moments, there's so big situations that as a communicator professional you are facing with the company, and you need to be part of this, be part of the business, because sometimes the communicators just said, I'm just going to do my work as communicator, but I don't want to be part of this. And if the challenge is the company have a big situations with the government, we need to put our hands in that subject. Maybe we need to learn about public policies. Maybe we need to learn about different part of the business. So what I think is the professional needs to open their minds to learn about different topics, about different challenge, and be part of that. Because I saw many times the communicators go back and finish your business, and when you have something to tell me, I'm going to do my job as a communicator and communicate. No, guys, let's go, put your hands in the business, learn about that. If not, you are going to be out of the door. And the big meetings with the big executives and the big bosses.
It's up to every one of us also to show courage, to show curiosity, and
Yes.
figure out things. Be close to business.
And be part of the business. Yes.
Exactly.
Understand the business. Yes. Be part of the business.
Very good. There's one new question. We take that still. First of all, thank you. Learned so much in this forum. What would you consider to be our profession's scariest ethical challenge today? Anyone who has the answer to that? So let's make it a quick one. Scariest ethical challenge for professional communicators today?
If you let me, the scariest is use money to pay content. Second one, create false content with the AI. Third is hiring influencers. What kind of influencers you can put it in jump into the companies or into the campaigns, and all this, and it's the number in the all the communicators monitors around the world is the same. The communicator is how I can deal with that. It's where is the limit to use this to generate good communications or to try to get business. This is my opinion, my personal opinion.
All right. Hey, it's time to wrap up today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. And what we see, there's obviously growing need for us to take a more strategic role for our function in today's demanding environment. And one way to sort of support one another in that is to join our forces, keep on sharing these best practices and learning and growing, and keeping our integrity, being the guardians for ethics and responsible communication in our organizations, exactly as Elina referred earlier on. So many thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the next upcoming webinars of the Responsible Communication Month. We're going to focus on ethics in AI implementation. We're going to talk about the responsibilities of the social media platforms, and we're going to present the ethical compass for us as communicators. So thank you, and bye for now.